All right, just real quick, we'll back up history for a moment. So understanding Ukraine, Georgia, Belarus, that whole area, all part of the USSR. Lenin went in there, outlawed the use of the Ukrainian language, basically taking control of Ukraine, crushing it, bring it all in with the USSR. The USSR, its great, vast power. 1991, the whole thing craps the bed, it's done. Putin, never happy with any of this thing, saying it was the greatest geological or the greatest geopolitical catastrophe in a century, the destruction of Russia, the USSR, for it all tearing apart. We're going to get back again, right? So we got to go back in there. We got to save everybody. In 1991, when they were free of it, 85% of the people in Ukraine like, we want to be independent. Georgia said we want to be independent. Yeah. Belarus, yes, independent. Let us do our own thing. We're entirely fine with that. Boris Yeltsin comes in, and he's like, yeah, okay, I recognize that. You guys can run it on your own. It's all yours. You can do whatever you want. And then stuff starts happening because Putin gets in there, and Putin really all he wants is to have the USSR back in the USSR, as the Beatles said. If he could do that, because there's only got about 147 million people in Russia. They're not repopulating. They're really in deep doo-doo. If we go get Ukraine, we could get Belarus. We're kind of working with those guys right now. We could get back to where we are to see ourselves as being a superpower. Because right now, I think they're fourth in line. So how can you do something like that? Well, how you can do that is to invade, but Putin doesn't see it as an invasion. He sees it as like, oh, no. We're going, and these people want us in there because there's Nazis in Kiev. I mean, there's a bunch of nonsense that he simply throws out there. So he decides, you know what, I'm going to go in and invade Georgia in 2008. Barack Obama does this thing called the reset and basically ignores some of this. And then they go in there, the Obama folks went in, and they demilitarized Ukraine.
Militarized?
There you go. Yeah. So they end up pulling out of there. Well, they ended total amount of stuff that they got out of there. It's pretty crazy. They got the nuclear weapons out of there. And then they were also able to get, listen to this. This is in 2005. They get nuclear weapons. They took 400,000 small arms. They took 1,000 anti-aircraft missiles. They took 15,000 tons of ammo. And
so this is Bush.
No, this is Obama.
In 2005?
2008. Yeah. 2008. And then the safety of the Ukrainian people and those around the world will be kept safe by keeping conflicts out. So they basically looked at it like, look, if there were no weapons, then nobody would go after you, which is kind of an upside-down thing, especially when you're dealing with somebody, a tyrant, a dictator like Putin. You have to have force. The idea of wanting to put missiles in there. Trump tries to go in there and put missiles back in Ukraine to give them the support because they were holding off a lot of the missiles. They thought, well, if you put missiles, it only will make Putin angry and then he'll attack them. So they basically left them with no way to protect themselves. So what you have is you have a dictator that goes into Ukraine, obviously invades the country. He sent a bunch of special force guys in to try to get to Kiev secretly and kill the president of Zelensky, kill him in Kiev. That particular thing failed. But you have a problem. We have a problem in that you have a dictator that wants this part of the country back. He won't get it back. Okay, now for Trump, this is where it gets weird because Trump, they did a vote the other day and they were going to say, here's the vote. Let's not accuse Putin of being a dictator and invading this country. Let's not even talk about that. Let's just ignore that and let's let there be peace by not pointing any fingers. So you have Trump sort of stirring the pot in a really unimaginable way to say, oh, it's Zelensky's fault. He's a dictator and he's the one that started the war. He said that, and then a couple of sentences later, he then admitted that it was Putin. But it's this idea they don't want to agitate Putin by pointing out what he really is, which is an invader into sovereign countries. He doesn't see it as a sovereign country. He sees it as a country that he can help. So now where we are in negotiation is Trump is saying to Zelensky, and he's going to be at the White House, I think, this week. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We will protect you. You're not going to join NATO. That's an agreement. You can join the EU if you want. I know that was a promise that was made by the previous president. Maybe you want to do something like that. But let us come in there and mine some of your minerals. We'll get some of that out of there for you. And we'll have Putin kind of go away. Because what Putin was just trying to do was to get his economy back up again. And the United States, right after 1991, they did everything they possibly could to try to get their economy going again. They supported them with a whole bunch of different stuff. They got them in the Paris Club. They helped with International Monetary Fund, tried to get in there, anything to bolster, because they realized an economically unstable, broken down Russia needs an economy. So the U.S. got involved, and Paris got involved, the U.K. got involved, everything they could do. But the U.S. led the way to try to bolster the economy of Russia, to get them going again, get them back up again, because they didn't want them to have to start fighting around and start going and grabbing different pieces of what was formerly the USSR. All of that has failed. So now where it is on the table, Zelensky is going to sit down with Trump and say, okay, we're going to finish this. You can have part of Ukraine. You can come in there and mine some of that stuff because we can't mine it in the United States. We can't get it out of Greenland right now. So with some of that will go in there. We'll go over to Putin and say, Putin, what we'll do is we'll cut a deal with you. We'll allow you to keep selling your oil and gas. You'll keep moving that in. That'll help your economy. But this idea of getting a stronger economy by grabbing bits and pieces of the old USSR is just simply not going to fly. Does that make sense of where we are? Because it's economic. It's primarily you have economy on one part of the problem, and then the bigger part of the problem is you have just a maniac in Putin, because Putin really believes, almost with like a religious fervor, that if the USSR could rejoin, it could be a powerful place again, and he would have his place in history. And that's the thing, that you've got this guy on the side that still wants the power of Ukraine, or the power of the USSR being, geographically large with lots and lots of people. So if some way, some of the money that's coming out of Ukraine can come back to Russia, and you can put Putin back in there. But basically, by not accusing him of being an invader, allows him to save face. That's what the vote was. Most of the people that voted in favor of that were like, look, if it's him not having to walk back to Russia with his tail between his legs as a failure, let's give him that. Let's just not say it. We'll just be quiet about it. If we're quiet about it, maybe then we can negotiate with him. That's the idea. Because you're dealing with a crazy person. Don't accuse him of being crazy. Just don't even mention that. And then maybe he can somehow not lose some standing in the eye of the world.
Right. So it's just him playing politics in terms of
yeah.
Trump
Because
saying,
at this point, what are you going to do?
Right.
You can't have it keep going on. I didn't bother getting into what's the name of Yakovich. Is that the previous president? Yeah.
You nailed it.
Shush. That guy was nuts, too. He promised all sorts of stuff, and then he ended up backing out of things.
Are you optimistic that Trump, Zelensky, and...
Yeah, listen, Zelensky knows that I at least have a bargaining chip. I can now offer the United States something that they can come in here and come get. Yeah, I am, because what else are they going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to send more missiles over to Ukraine and then let them continue to battle it out? No, it's about letting Putin think, well, you won, you got this. You can have parts that you already have. It's got to be, Zelensky has to be told, hey, you Crimea, that's gone. Forget about that. You're going to lose Dunbar. You're going to lose that area too. Don't worry about that, but just call it done. We're at a tie. Everybody go away. Nobody's winning. No one's losing. I'd like to have that job.